Sicily. Sicily is in many ways a country to itself, seemingly not part of Italy or Europe at all, and deserves a separate holiday to do its justice. However, for anyone with a few days to spare for a first glimpse, we suggest some highlights: the capital, Palermo, the ancient Greek settlements, and the coastal resort of Taormina. Palermo. The bustling capital, Palermo, deserves the necessary effort to get into its colourful past. Cleverly integrating designs of Arab and Byzantine predecessors, the Norman palaces and churches join the crumbling grandeur of Spanish Baroque facades, in momentary triumph over the chaos of the modern port city. It is not always an easy city to love, but few leave unimpressed. The intersection of Via Vittorio Emanuele and Via Maqueda marks the town's historic centre. Quattro Canti, four corners, within a characteristic setting of two great Baroque churches, San Giuseppe dei Teatini and Santa Caterina. The monumental 16th century Pretoria fountain by a Florentine sculptor, and the piazza of the same name. The delightful Piazza Bellini includes the 12th century church of San Cataldo, with its three little red domes and Arabic inscriptions. It was used briefly in the 18th century as a post office, and has been restored to its bare Moorish beauty. The mosaic floor and lattice windows are original. In the crypt are sections of Palermo's ancient Roman walls. Besides San Cataldo, the restored Norman Gothic La Martorana. Open from Monday to Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. Sundays 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Partly remodelled with a Baroque facade and porch, has a fine campanile with 4 stories of slim, mullioned windows. Inside the porch, mint 12th century mosaics show, to the right, Jesus crowning Sicily's Norman king Roger I, and to the left his admiral, George of Antioch, at the feet of the Madonna. In the nave are glittering mosaics of Christ Pantocrator, omnipotent Lord, with accompanying angels. West, along Via Vittorio Emanuele, the Palace of the Normans, Palazzo dei Normanni, also known as Palazzo Reale. It was originally built by the Saracens as a 9th century fortress. It was later turned into a royal residence and an appropriate setting for the later brilliance and luxury of Emperor Frederick II's Sicilian's court. Although it houses Sicily's regional government, tour buses line up for the jewel of the palace, and Palermo, one of Norman architecture's greatest achievements in Italy, the 12th century Palatine Chapel, Cappella Palatina, open Monday to Saturday 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sundays 8:30 to 9:45 a.m. and 11 a.m. to 2:15 p.m. The interior has a magnificent painted wooden ceiling with Arabic honeycomb motifs and stalactite pendentives. The Byzantine mosaics of the dome and apse depict Christ Pantocrator with the evangelists and Jesus blessing Peter and Paul. Together with those of Ravenna, they are Italy's finest. The designs were a collaborative effort of Syrian Muslim craftsmen with Byzantine Christians. No visit of Palermo could be complete without a visit to the pink dome church of San Giovanni degli Eremiti and the Archaeological Museum. To offset the historical with the theatrical, make a visit to Palermo's daily Vucciria market, or better still, the Ballarò market, a raucous, sprawling and exotic market with the spicy scents and sounds that transport you back to Moorish times. This is now the largest and liveliest market, overtaking the Vucciria, which has been reduced in size by mafia-controlled modern development. Sicily's major port city offers fresh seafood in a remarkable variety of shapes and sizes, and no-frills trattorias within or near the market promise an excellent, inexpensive lunch. Agrigento. Although Agrigento is known as the birthplace of the Nobel Prize-winning dramatist Luigi Pirandello, it is the Valley of the Temples. Open daily from April to June from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., July to September up until 7 p.m., and October to March until 5 p.m. It's the showpiece attraction. These magnificent temples date back to the 5th century BC. The Temple of Juno, with a sacrificial altar, stands in majestic isolation high on a ledge at the eastern end of the Via Sacra. But it is the Temple of Concord that is the best preserved Doric temple in Sicily, if not the world, thanks to its subsequent use as a church in the 6th century AD. The idyllic setting amid acacia and almond trees on a precipice overlooking the Mediterranean is enough to encourage you to worship a whole pantheon of Greek gods. Nearby is the oldest of the shrines, the Temple of Hercules, constructed in 500 BC, whose 8 10-meter columns have been re-erected to give some idea of its original grandeur. In the western zone, the Temple of Jove was considered the 8th wonder of the world, although it was never finished. North of Temple Valley, next to the 13th century Norman Church of San Nicola, the small but important Archaeological Museum, open Monday 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., Tuesday to Sunday 9 a.m. 7 p.m., has a fine marble statue of Ephebus from the 5th century BC. A reconstructed Telemon, a 7.5-meter sculpted male figure used to hold up a temple roof's entablature, and some fine Greek black and red attic vases. Taormina, Sicily's most attractive resort town, already very popular in antiquity as a holiday spot for the Greek bourgeoisie from Syracuse, commands a splendid ridge-top view of the Mediterranean from its hillside villas and hotels. No Sicilian passeggiata is more celebrated than a promenade on the elegant pedestrian shopping street of Corso Umberto and out along the Via Roma, or through the subtropical vegetation of the terraced public gardens. With picture postcard panoramas south along the coast and to the volcano of Mount Etna to the west, the 3rd century BC Greek theatre, open daily from 9 a.m. until 1 hour before sunset, is the only required site in town. It provides an evocative setting for summer festivals. Excursions further up the mountain take you to 2 medieval fortresses, on foot to Castello di Taormina, and by bus, car or foot along a winding road to Castelmola for grand views, although the summit of Etna is almost always swathed in clouds. Syracuse, an East Coast Corinthian settlement founded in 734 BC, was the most powerful of Magna Graecia's overseas colonies and, under Dionysius, a direct rival to Athens. In its heyday, its population was nearly treble the size of today's 118,000. Today, the capital of Syracuse province is a cultured town of elegance and grace. Syracuse's original settlement was the port island of Ortygia, joined by causeway to the mainland. 2 pillars surviving from the Greek temple of Apollo stand like a gateway, and the Spanish era has given it attractive 17th century Baroque houses, with iron balconies supported by floral carvings. The graceful crescent-shaped Piazza del Duomo, surrounded by 17th and 18th century palazzi, and the monumental facade of the cathedral, is the perfect place for breakfast. After many years of decay, the city, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, has benefited hugely from restoration work, and Ortygia is looking lovelier than ever.